Und damit herzlich willkommen zurück bei The Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. In der letzten Aufnahmesession, die nicht so lang war tatsächlich, haben wir erfahren, dass der Gossip, der Typ mit der großen Lippe, actually ein gewisser Daily Vigil ist, der von der Herlock aufgetragen wurde zu finden, von seiner Frau Miss Vigil. Ich weiß gerade nicht, wie sie mit Vornamen hieß, aber auf jeden Fall sollte sie ihn finden. Und wir haben herausgefunden, dass er auch der Hugh Boone ist, der den Raum angemietet hat, in dem Inspector Gregson schließlich gestorben ist. Und wir haben herausgefunden, dass Inspector Gregson wie heißt er? Vigil beschäftigt hat. Dass er gesagt hat, ja, geh als Imposter dahin, also impostiere mich, verkörpere mich, du kriegst hier meinen Ausweis, geh dahin zur Red-Headed League und sowas alles. Und Gregson hat scheinbar diesen Ort genutzt als zweites Büro, wo er dann seine Sachen hingebracht hat von den Fällen, hat von da aus das Ganze koordiniert, dass Vigil als Imposter quasi rausgehen kann. Und Vigil hatte das angemietet für ein Doppelleben, denn er war auch der Wärter von dem Barclay Prison, wo der Professor Genshin Asoki, der Massenmörder, drin war. Und als er vor 10 Jahren gefeuert wurde, hat er das angemietet, um ein Doppelleben zu führen als Straßenverkäufer mit noch, weil seine Familie weiß bis heute nicht, dass er kein Wärter mehr ist, weil er Angst um seinen Ruf hat. Seine Kinder, seine Frau ist stolz auf ihn, dass er Gefängniswärter ist, aber er ist das schon seit 10 Jahren nicht mehr. Und das alles, weil er den Professor scheinbar geholfen hat zu fliehen und dann zu seinem Grab zu kommen, wo der Professor dann letztendlich von einer noch unbekannten Person erschossen wurde. Und gerade als er dann erzählt hat im Gericht, dass er quasi konfrontiert wurde von dem Gefängnisdirektor und gefeuert werden sollte, ist er scheinbar aus dem Fenster gesprungen in der Vergangenheit, und in der Gegenwart, wo er diese Geschichte gerade erzählt hat, ist er kollabiert, und dann hat der Richter die Proceedings für heute beendet, den Prozess. Und jetzt, ist er quasi zusammengebrochen, der Vigil, und wir stehen nicht unbedingt viel schlauer da als vorher. Deswegen starten wir jetzt mal die zweiten Investigations of Twisted Karma and his Last Bow. Let's go. 2nd November, 3:38 p.m., Sholmes Suite. I still can't quite believe what just happened. I know, I inquired with the bailiff after the court session was adjourned, and it seems Mr. Vigil was taken to hospital to recover. White. 10 years ago now, Mr. Vigil attempted to commit suicide by jumping out of the window of the prison governor's office. Okay, also, er ist wirklich aus dem Fenster gesprungen. But ever since then, he's completely blocked the memory of those events from his mind. Nobody knew his secret, not his family, not even the man himself. But I forced it out into the open. Was it wrong of me to do that? Did I overstep the mark, I wonder? Nein, du hast das Richtige getan, für die Wahrheit. Bruno! Oh, Iris. You were miles away. Anyway, I've brewed a fresh pot of soothing tea for you. Oh, thank you. You and Susie have had an exhausting day so far, haven't you? Oh. Thank you, Iris. How thoughtful of you. Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is? When we came out of the courtroom back into the defendant's antechamber, he disappeared. Oh, no, I don't know. He just suddenly sprang to his feet and left. All he said was, I must leave. I wonder if he's pursuing the mystery of Inspector Gregson's death. Well, you know what Hurley's always saying, don't you? There are mysteries in this world that should perhaps never be solved. For the construction of a solution comes only at the expense of the destruction of something else. What does it mean? He knows very well when you open someone else's wounds. You often open your own too. But he just can't take his own advice and leave well alone. Solving mysteries is too important to him. That's so true. But that's what I like about Hurley after all. I suppose that's a lot of a great detective in some ways. So then, let's have tea, and then I'll give you a hand. Oh, do you have time, Iris? Yes, I finished this month's manuscript at last, with barely a day to spare before the deadline. Oh, I'm so looking forward to it. A brand new story to read in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. You know, I always hide Hurley's violin in the days before I have a deadline. You do, poor Mr. Holmes. I'm sure that's very wise, Iris. How sensible of you. Now then, my dear fellows, let's make a plan of action before we continue our investigation. Okay, converse. This morning's trial. So, how did it go in court this morning? Well, we still don't know the truth about what really happened, but one thing's increasingly clear. Lord Van Zieks definitely didn't do it. Oh, goody! Yes, that's right. We managed to uncover several new facts as well. Oh, really? And there was another development too. Kazuma. Yes, it's quite clear now that Kazuma-sama is not himself. The way he's acting, it's almost as if he's possessed. I know. I mean, at the end of the proceedings earlier, he was like a bloodhound the way he was chasing down Mr. Vigil's forgotten past. He's not normally so mercilessly persistent. What's going on in his head, I wonder? I really need to sit down with Kazuma and try to understand what he's going through. The Weeper's innocence. If Gregson was really murdered the day before his body was discovered, then Lord Van Zieks has to be innocent, you see? What? The day before? If Gregson... okay. Well, that should be easy enough to work out, just by examining the corpse, surely? Yes, you would expect so, but curiously, no time of death was included in the autopsy report. That is curious. There are still unanswered questions about Lord Van Zieks though, aren't there? Ah, do you mean... I mean, what was he doing there on Fresno Street that day in the first place? Well, according to the man's testimony, he said he was investigating Inspector Gregson, didn't he? And it turns out that little room was actually the Inspector's secret office. Oh, that sounds like it has all the makings of a wonderfully devilish plot. But then, why was it notice board in there covered in all those particular papers? Papers about cases with a link to the Reaper. I'm starting to get a bad feeling about all this. Oh dear, that sounds more like something horribly devilish. We must start by looking into Inspector Gregson's movement of late. Gregson's movements. Oh, whoops. I never imagined I might have to be investigating an inspector's movements. Well, according to the entry in his diary, he was carrying out an incognito investigation of the red-haired leak the day before his death. Oh, you mean he was doing the same as Hurley? Well, Mr. Holmes was trying to apply, whereas the inspector was supposed to be investigating. I do wish it had been the other way around. Okay. Anyway, as it turns out, the inspector who went to investigate the red-headed leak that day wasn't actually Gregson at all. It was Mr. Vigil, in possession of Gregson's identification. You know what that sounds like to me? Establishing an alibi. Oh my! Yes, you're absolutely right, Iris. But why would Gregson need an alibi? It would appear that the inspector had something to do that he wished to keep secret. I don't believe it. I always thought he was just a harmless lover of fish and chips. But perhaps they were seasoned with something a little more potent than salt and vinegar. I think perhaps we should try to move away from food analogies. Well, anyway, if Lord Van Zieks felt the need to investigate Gregson. Yes, I agree. We must try to find out what he knows. Okay. Mr. Vigil's condition. Vigil, you say? Isn't that the name of the lady you came to visit early yesterday? That's right. To ask Mr. Sholmes if he would help her to find her missing husband. Only Mr. Sholmes completely passed the buck to us. Actually, didn't you say that Mr. Vigil had been taken to hospital? Do you know which one? Ah! It's St. Sinners! I'm starting to wonder if all the other hospitals in London have closed down. But that's amazing, Bruno. You found the lady's husband already. Well, I suppose I have. By accident. Mann, was war in St. Sinners nochmal? And 10 years ago, well, Mr. Vigil was the chief warder at the prison. He was responsible for overseeing the professor's incarceration. No! So when the convict escaped, he was held responsible and immediately dismissed. Sometimes I really don't want to grow up. There's more. For 10 years after that, while he was ostensibly working as a peddler, he also had another secret job. He was paid by Gregson to be a stand-in, to impersonate the inspector. To impersonate Grexy? But why? I have absolutely no idea. Ginny was right. I'm starting to think all adults are up to no good now. Including you, you know. I haven't paid anyone to impersonate me. That means he has ties to the professor and to Inspector Gregson though. So I do think we ought to pay a visit to Mr. Vigil, don't you? Back to St. Sinners then. Well, I think it's clear that what we need to do, isn't it? Let us investigate, my dear fellows. Oh, Iris, you're even more enthusiastic than usual today. If anyone has anything to hide, my special Wilson shooting iron will soon set them straight. That water pistol? It's stuffed full of a piping hot, extra special blend of mine. Then I'm quite sure it will be very effective. I'd better be careful not to hide anything. Well, it feels a little strange that Mr. Sholmes is nowhere to be seen, but still. Let's go and see what we can find out. Yes! Okay. We have any business that would visit here at the moment. Okay. Prison, Fresno Street, Mr. Vigil's hospital bed. A hospital bed in St. Sinners where Mr. Vigil is recuperating, having lost consciousness in the witness stand. Perhaps we should leave Mr. Vigil in peace for a little while. He's only just been admitted. Okay. Dann gehen wir erstmal zum Tatort, würde ich sagen. Oder reden mit Van Zieks? Ich glaube, wir reden erstmal mit Van Zieks. 2nd November. Local prison. Cell 1. Lord Van Zieks is reading. Look. He doesn't seem like he wants visitors, does he? Hat Iris wieder ihr Outfit an? Lol. But he must have noticed that we are here, surely. What do you Nipponese want? There's no way to greet the lawyer who's trying the hardest to prove your innocence, is it? Perhaps not. I apologize. So, what can I do for you, Mr. Naruhodo? Lord Van Zieks, speaking earnestly. Oh, the fog will lift over London for the first time in months tomorrow. This does feel very, very strange. I must say, I was impressed. Oh, well, thank you. Not by you, by your fellow Nipponese, your prosecutor friend. Oh, I see, yes. It's sardonic, don't you think? For a man such as me, so loathing of the Nipponese, to be entirely at the mercy of the two of you. Stimmt, irgendwie ironisch. I suppose. It's retribution for having played the part of the Reaper all these years. Played the part. Converse. The Reaper's identity. You once told me that you gladly allowed people to believe you were the Reaper, because it helped reduce the amount of serious crime that took place in London. If keeping quiet and playing the part benefits the cause, a cause I myself am committed to pursuing, then why would I choose to say anything? But the henchman of a criminal killed by the Reaper attacked you only the other day, and that was just the most recent of many attempts on your life, wasn't it? Someone is clearly profiting from your silence about all this. Someone is using you. Believe me, ever since the Reaper first appeared, I've been doing my utmost to expose him. Or rather, expose the organization. Ah! It's a whole organization? Is this eine Organisation? What? It's inconceivable that all those accidents were orchestrated by one man. No, the Reaper always appears to have very accurate information about the accused in each case, which can only mean that somebody at Scotland Yard is involved. Okay. Someone at... You can't mean... It's taken me many years, but I finally identified the central figure in this Reaper organization. Tobias Gregson. Ich habe es geahnt, als gerade Scotland Yard gesagt hat. Ich habe es geahnt. Tobias Gregson. No. No! Gregson! The Reaper! Nein, das glaube ich nicht. Gregson's secret. So, the reason you were investigating Inspector Gregson is because you intended to expose him as the Reaper. As I said, the Reaper of the Bailey is no single person. It's a highly secret organization with close ties to Scotland Yard. But there's no doubt that Gregson was a key member of that organization. I don't believe it. Are you saying that that he was behind all those awful criminals meeting there? Gregson didn't do the dirty work himself. Oh! He was a tactician. His job was to covertly investigate the marks and plot the assassinations. In order to do that without arousing suspicion, he regularly needed a firm alibi. Which is where Mr. Vigil came in, posing as the inspector. Vigil knows nothing of the Reaper. Okay. Oh, okay. But the room he went on Fresno Street was almost certainly the headquarters of the operation. Gregson would have met the assassin there for briefings. So we don't actually know who carried out the killings then. Actually, I do have a name. Okay. You... what? Well, if you can name the man, you have the true identity of the Reaper already then. Or, if I can name the woman. The woman. Nein. Sag das nicht. Nein! Glaube ich nicht. Ich habe eine Vermutung, wen er nennen wird, aber nein. Oh. She's a young woman, by the name of... Asa Shin, okay. Das war nicht das, was ich gedacht habe, aber Asa Shin. Asa Shin, das war die Giselle Brett. Wait. What? Shin. Miss Asa Shin. The true name of a terrifying killer I know only too well. Heißt es, dass Dr. Watson auch angeklagt war von Siegs at one point? She came to Japan posing as a visiting student and murdered Dr. John H. Wilson. Then, just when it seems that diplomatic protection would help her escape Japan and conviction. Junge, das spielt ja alles zusammen. The mysterious woman was herself murdered in a small summer beach hut. And that woman was actually the Reaper of the Bailey. Was macht ja keinen Sinn. Oder macht es Sinn? Nein, das macht keinen Sinn. Warum ist Assman dann gestorben? Warum ist wie heißt er? McGilded dann gestorben? Da war sie ja schon in Japan und schon festgenommen. Auch wenn sie keine großartige Dings zu befürchten hatte. Aber bei Assmans Tod war sie ja selber schon tot. Mr. Naruhodo, this perhaps isn't the place to discuss. No, of course not. We can't mention it here. The fact that she killed Dr. John H. Wilson. Because Iris doesn't know, and it's very likely that the man was her father. Asa Shin. I should let father know at once. Yes, I agree. Hä? Kann das sein? Prosecutor, also... Das würde aber Sinn machen, warum ihr Name auf der Liste stand. Warum ihr Name auf der Government-Liste stand im 5. Fall von Adventures. Mehr oder weniger. Da war Tobias Gregson drauf. A. Shin. K. Asogi. Wer war der vierte nochmal? Tobias Gregson, A. Shin. Was war der vierte nochmal? Oh Gott. Kazuma Asogi, Asian, Tobias Gregson und... Wer war noch drauf? McGilded? Nein. Wer war da noch drauf? Ich weiß es gerade gar nicht mehr. Wer war auf der... Das muss ich jetzt kurz googeln, entschuldigt. The Adventure of the Unspeakable Story. Wer war auf der Liste unten drauf noch? Kazuma Asogi, A. Shin, Tobias Gregson und wer noch? Und Wilson, natürlich, Dr. Wilson. Ja, stimmt. Oh Mann, ich bin dumm. Also ja, Wilson, Asogi, Shin und Gregson. Kazuma, isn't it? Kazuma Asogi. You say he's a friend of yours. My best friend. He's the whole reason I got to come to Britain. It was all on his merits. I have nothing but respect for him. Yes, I understand that only the very best students are selected for such opportunities. And I had a fine demonstration of how sharp he is in the proceedings earlier today. He missed nothing. In fact, his flawless performance very much reminded me of his father. Genshin Asogi, the professor. It's true that the aristocracy at the time was the root of numerous grave societal problems. They were abusing their power, playing with the common man as pawns in politics, in economics, in war. In many ways, Asogi was carving out a canker from society that we British couldn't deal with ourselves. I see. But that's precisely why it makes no sense. Clint van Zieks was a noble and upstanding man. He wasn't corrupt. Why did that damned Nipponese have to go and take my brother's life? In spite of having once saved mine. Bitte? He saved your life? How did that happen? Saving your life. It was 10 years ago, on a foggy night. What was to be the professor's final strike had sent a wave of panic through the capital. So Clint Van Zieks had already been killed at this point then. Genshin and I were walking down some back streets at a late hour. Of course, at that point I had no idea of the true nature of the man at my side. All of a sudden... Don't make a peep, you're coming with us! We were surrounded. All of our assailants were armed with pistols, their faces obscured by scarves. Clint was not only from noble heritage, he was a brilliant prosecutor as well. The scum of London hated the sight of him, and they had no sympathy for his younger brother either. I've been targeted several times before already. Yeah, it's Van Zieks alright, we've got him! I could hear them murmuring amongst themselves. I knew they were after me. But just when I thought my time had come. If I let them kill you, Clint would never forgive me. It was Azogi's voice, just a whisper in my ear. After that, I don't remember exactly what happened. The next thing I knew, there was silence all around. Genshin lay on the cobbled street. Blood was seeping from his left hand. He shielded me. Huh? 2 days later, they arrested him. On suspicion of being London's most notorious mass murderer ever, the Professor. How awful for you. Okay, also den Schuss hat er dann offensichtlich überlebt. All at once, I lost the brother I revered, and the foreign friend I held in such high regard. I'm so sorry, Lord Van Zieks. That's the end of my miserable tale. I never thought I'd recount it to anyone. Well, thank you for confiding in me. The Professor, the Reaper, and Inspector Gregson. I wonder just how intimately related they all are. I still can't quite believe that Gregson was essentially the Reaper, giving assassination orders to Giselle Brett. Mr. Naruhodo, let's go and inform my father. I'm sure our government will want to hear about this new information. Oh, that means I get to meet your daddy, Susie. Hooray! Yes, alright. Let's head back to the Great Waterloo Hotel then. Okay. Die Geheimnisse des Reapers. Also Gregson war dahinter. Und Giselle Brett hat dann die Morde ausgeführt. Sprich, Wilson war auch ein Opfer des Reapers, wenn ich es richtig verstehe, und sie ist ihm doch direkt nach Japan gefolgt. Aber weil sie jetzt nicht mehr lebt, sind Natsume und Gina noch am Leben. Und Hairbrain. Okay. Interessant. Interessant. A new location has been added. Sehr interessant das Ganze.